everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Mize Breakroom. My name is Marc Swearengin, your host. Today we have John Bohan with Prism Financial Group, our one of our sister companies that works with us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about money. What do you think, John?
Everyone likes to talk about money.
They like money. So, we have all kinds of clients at different stages in their careers, right? In their professional careers. They might be new into the business. They might be existing, thinking about retirement. But here's the question we get asked. What should I do with my money? Whether they have none, they have a lot, that's the question. So you're here. John, what should they do with their money?
Well, I mean, as you know, that's kind of a loaded question.
Uh-huh.
I think of it a lot like I need to buy my wife a car right now. She's driving the car that went through all the teenagers, and so she needs a new car. But if I were to ask you, what kind of car should I get for my wife, you're going to give me 10 different ideas. So it depends, right?
Okay.
You're going to ask me, what would you ask me if I say, hey, Mark, what kind of car should I get for my wife?
Does she like SUVs? Does she like, trucks? Does she want a sports car?
Exactly. All-wheel drive, all
Right.
these different things. So, and it's the same thing with money. So if someone asks, what do I do with the money, especially with the ups and downs on the markets right now, I would say, what's the money for?
Okay.
What's the time frame?
Okay.
And that can really help determine how you might want to save or invest the money.
Okay. So what are those time frames? How should be people thinking about it to answer those questions, like what they want to do?
Well, I think the simplest way to think about it is if you put your thoughts about money into three categories,
Okay.
Maybe three buckets, short-term, medium-term, and long-term.
Mm-hmm.
So short-term needs, money that you might need in the next month or next 3 years, somewhere in that time frame. On the other end of the spectrum, you have long-term. And so that's probably 7 years to 10 years plus, things for retirement, that type of thing. The hardest is probably in the middle, money that you might need in the next 3 to 10 years. So each one of those categories, you might think of different ways on how you want to manage that money.
Okay. Well, let's start with it. Let's go all the way out. So long term, we have, people thinking about that. What are the types of things, if you're thinking, hey, I don't need it now, but that long term vision, what are the types of things people should be thinking about? And, as you're talking to your existing clients, like what are the kind of things that you're looking at?
Well, sure. So, you and I are about the same age and everything. You've got much better hair than I do, but that has nothing to do with this. But you're thinking about retirement, so if retirement is 10 years away, 20 years away, 30 years away, that money you're okay with a little bit more risk being involved. Mm-hmm. Because if the money is at risk, then it has more potential for return. Now, certainly it could go up and down. So what does that mean? Well, you might invest it in real estate. You might be a franchisee. You're looking to buy some more restaurants, whatever that might be. Or it might be involved in the stock market, mm-hmm. U.S. international bonds, so those type of things. So all of that money certainly can be invested in funds or a mix that will hopefully over time, it'll be okay in 10 or 20 years. And if you look at statistics, if you were just in the U.S. stock market, for example, the S&P 500, the last 2 years have been fantastic. Mm-hmm. They've been north of 20% return each year the last 2 years. You're like, well, maybe I should do that. Well, but in 2022, the market was down quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So if you put it out a long time period, then you're okay with it going up and down because hopefully on the long end, it's going to be all right.
So you're kind of reducing that. People, if they're a little risk intolerant, kind of that longer term vision kind of reduces that risk that they would really take on.
You're just going to spread that out over a longer period of time, mm-hmm. And it's same with buying real estate. You could buy a condo at the lake mm-hmm. and this year could sink in value, but mm-hmm. over 10, 20 years, you would think that it's going to appreciate. Mm-hmm. So time helps certainly with investments, not all of them, but usually that's going to help. The longer you have, hopefully the better chance you have for a positive return.
Okay. What about that short term then? I need some, I got to buy my wife a car in 6 months.
Sure.
What are the kind of things that you're talking to clients about?
So you think of short term money. So you're going to buy a car. Maybe it's a down payment for a house. Maybe you're a new franchisee or you want to be a franchisee. So you want to save money for that down payment for your business, or you're just building up an emergency fund. So short term, the key is that you want to have that money there when you need it. So you probably, in 1 year in the stock market, again, just over the last 3 years, we've had big swings. So you probably don't want to throw it that way. The other end of the spectrum is you just put it in your checking account. Well, that's probably not a great idea either, because that's just like having a teenager on the couch and they're not doing anything. You want them to do a little something. So maybe in the middle, you could invest short-term money in a CD, or you could put it into a money market fund. A CD, those are at your bank. Here's a challenge with the CD. You get a guaranteed rate of return. They're going to pay you an interest rate that is guaranteed for 3 months or 9 months or 18 months. But the problem is if you have to take the money out early, then you could get penalized. So you're probably going to lose that interest you build up over time. The positive is if it's in a CD, then you're going to be able to lock in that interest rate for whatever period of time you get. So that's fine. So there's trade-offs. I think the other thing with short-term money is, again, stock market is probably too risky. Checking account is probably too boring. In the middle, you also have what's called money market funds. And money market funds are offered by all the major brokerage places, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. And essentially what they invest in is short-term government paper or corporate paper. And all that means is it's high-quality investments that pay you an interest rate. So, for example, right now, the money market fund, and again, this is not guaranteed, could change tomorrow, but money market fund is paying north of 4% interest right now, which is pretty good. Historically, it's been half of that. If interest rates come down, that'll probably come down, but the money market fund is a pretty good place to park your money right now. You can move it in and out of there without any penalty, and it's just earning a little bit of something while it's sitting there.
That's great. Is this something, Prism, you guys work with clients to figure out where they, what are the best options for them on these, like if they're looking for a market fund or something like that? Is it the kind of thing you guys help them with?
Absolutely. A lot of things that you go out and look for, you're just not sure if it's right for you. I know too many people that are either way too risky with their money or they're way too conservative with their money. And so hopefully we can try and find a good balance. Because, again, that short-term money, you want to make sure it's there, but you want to make sure it's doing a little something. So we hopefully can help them find the best funds. Maybe it's CDs that seem to work for that short-term money. And then the long-term money is going to be more complex for everybody. Some folks are closer to retirement, and so they want to be a little more conservative with it. But building the right allocation for each person is certainly something that we do.
That's great. I think you just helped me kind of pull it all together. I think if anybody's asking that question, what should I do with my money? First of all, you should call John and have him kind of walk you through those things. So I think that would be your first step. And they can find you prismfg.com, and you can send an email to myself, and I can make sure you get in touch with John. You can send an email to Breakroom at MizeCPAs.com, and we certainly can get you introduced to John. So reach out. And John, I think this was great. I think it's great content for everyone. I think this is a topic that everyone's thinking about all the time. So what should they do with their money? So I appreciate you stopping by today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Mize Breakroom. If you watch this episode on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you never miss another episode. You can find the Mize Breakroom anywhere you can find podcasts. If you like what you heard, please rate and review the podcast 5 stars. Looking for more information? You can find us on most social media platforms at Mize CPAs. Thanks for listening, and see you next time in the Breakroom. The Mize Breakroom is produced by Mize CPAs and hosted by Marc Swearengin. Mize CPAs is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice. The information shared in this podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to constitute legal or technical accounting, tax, consulting, and/or professional advice that may apply to your specific business. The listener is encouraged to consult counsel and/or their accountant before making decisions or taking any action concerning the matters in this communication to address the recipient's particular facts, circumstances, position, business considerations, or other unique relevant matters, as well as to evaluate any applicable federal, state, or local laws.